maybe you wondered how fit you are over the years. You exercise regularly, you eat pretty well, and now you're kind of creeping up on your age, 30, 40, 50, and you wonder, what is my cardiometabolic fitness? There's a couple of ways to think about it. The way I've done it with my health coaching clients is to think through these 5 things that can be optimized. So there is a lot of room for improvement. And of course, overall, if you're eating well, if you get enough exercise, if you feel that your weight is healthy, your nutritional goals are met, trying to figure out what your cardiometabolic rate or your cardiometabolic fitness is may not be that important. There might be much more valuable things to focus on. But nevertheless, here are the things that I wrote down that are worth considering. So the first one is probably your actual stamina. So think of stamina as how tired you get after a certain activity. Maybe you're painting a wall, maybe you're fixing something in the kitchen, maybe you go play with the kids. What's your stamina like? Can you recover pretty well after an hour of rest, or are you done for the rest of the day, or maybe even carry into the next day? That's stamina, which is different from your amount of energy and focus. So that's number 2. How much energy and focus do you experience throughout the day? So if you run out of energy pretty quickly, if you experience a lot of crashes in the middle of the day, or by the end of the day, you're pretty spent from just doing your daily routine, consider that maybe a sign of something to pay attention to. And that's the same thing for focus. Now, I'm not talking about a day or two here and there where you just have bad energy, low energy, you have low attention span, low focus. That could be many things. Maybe you just didn't sleep that good the day before, your digestion was off. Could be stress, it could be something that you're thinking about. Those I would ignore. The next one I wrote down is your resting heart rate. So now we're getting into kind of the nitty-gritty stuff, maybe a little bit more scientific. I don't think a resting heart rate is very useful overall because some people will genetically just have a very low resting heart rate. Others will have a high resting heart rate. But in the realm of heart rate variability, which you can measure with an app, or your resting heart rate, there is some good data to derive from it. And you can just try to kind of experiment with it. Maybe do some particular exercises, see if your resting heart rate goes down. But it's something that I would kind of put into that umbrella of cardiometabolic fitness. If your resting heart rate is generally lower, your HRV is a little bit higher, usually that's a good indication. But by itself, very little information. The next one I have in there is strength. Now, I would even maybe put strength above your resting heart rate. What I mean by strength is how physically fit do you feel? How strong do you feel to, move this desk right here or rearrange the furniture back there by yourself? Now, of course, there's a little bit of sexism built into our society. Most things that are built and designed are designed and built for those who consider themselves men or were born men to lift things. There's plenty of women who are way stronger than men, no doubt. But there is a little bit of a bias there. So I always want people to consider that when they think, I'm a woman and I feel weak compared to maybe my husband who can lift a fridge. Well, the fridge would probably be designed much smaller if it wasn't mostly men who are lifting it and moving it. I consider that to be part of the inherent biases that we have in our society. But in general, man, woman, anything that you consider yourself, you should be fairly confident and comfortable doing physical activities in your house that require strength without feeling that you are lacking that strength. And I think strength is an important part of your cardiometabolic fitness. And the last thing I have on my list is a set of blood tests that I like to consider for people. These are way down the road, way down the line of what I would use, but it would be a fasting triglyceride, a fasting HDL, a fasting insulin, and fasting glucose. So fasting insulin, when it's on the lower side, it tells us that your body is not constantly secreting a lot of insulin to maintain a good blood sugar balance. When your fasting blood sugar is on the lower side, somewhere under 90, 80, 70, those are pretty good numbers. It indicates that your overall metabolic function can maintain a good glucose level. For some people, that's not going to be very accurate. The numbers are going to be all over the place. And so you might consider a 2-hour glucose challenge where after fasting, you're given an amount of sugar to consume, and then you test your blood sugar after that. That can be a pretty good placeholder as well. Your triglycerides and your HDL are weaker associations of your cardiometabolic function, but they can be pretty good indications. Usually my patients who have triglycerides above 150, I tend to see problems there, and usually their ALT of their liver is a little bit higher, so their liver enzymes are higher, probably because there are some fatty infiltrates of the liver and organs and visceral parts of the body. And the same thing with triglycerides. Triglycerides is a reflection of usually your carb intake and your metabolic function in general. So I hope that's a good idea, a good way to kind of assess your cardiometabolic fitness level, your cardiometabolic status, without getting too much into like VO2 max testing or even any kind of the blood test that I mentioned. There's plenty of other things that you can do. Leave a comment below. Tell me how you maybe think through your metabolic function and how you've measured it in the past and what concerns you might have. Take care.